Morning, everyone, and it's great to be back here. And what I'm going to do is just briefly introduce Milestone. We're a guest, digital experience platform focused on customer acquisition. If I didn't have AI first in front of it, you wouldn't take me seriously. So I need to put that there. But we're focused on demand side, so being able to drive reservations direct to hotels. So there is a video here. We played this several times. It's a fantastic video that talks about the changing guest journey. I'm not going to play it here. It's 3 minutes. If we get time in the end, I will play it. But you'll get this deck, and it's clickable. Or the link should be, you should be able to click the link. Or if you come outside to our desk or table, we'll give you the link. But it's a great video. The summary of what the video is telling you is that the guest journey is changing. People are using AI engines, ChatGPT, they're using Perplexity, they're using other channels to get to your website. So you can see an exponential curve. The last time we saw this exponential curve was in 2012 for mobile. So it's pretty similar, reminiscent of that, steeper. The good news is these numbers, you don't need to be scared. I mean, it still is only about 0.5% of the total traffic on your website. So you do need to worry about it. If you're not doing anything about it today, you don't need to worry. If you're not doing anything about it next year, you do need to worry, right? So because it's coming at you. So what are we trying to do with AI? Basically, if you look at the entire guest, the hotel direct booking cycle, starting from your website to getting the content, getting distribution, getting it invisible in AI engines, getting it visible in search, to digital experience, booking. So the entire cycle is what we're planning to automate, and a lot of it is getting automated already, including some content orchestration. There was, I think, discussion around content earlier, so we're automating that and getting the insights from the final reservations back into the website, back into your digital experience. The digital experience is really personalization. How do you personalize the information? How do you actually create a conversational experience on your website? So that's what we're in the process of doing. So now let's talk about AI. What is preventing that? What are the challenges? The biggest thing that I get asked, so I'm going to change gears a little bit, and the biggest thing I get asked is, hey, is AI like one of those my imaginary girlfriends from high school that exists, but nobody else has met it and know her? And we keep talking about her, it's very exciting, but I've never met them. So I'm going to give you some practical case studies, right? So that was the ask of the organizers, show us what's actually happening. So 2 examples I'm going to give you, but the biggest number one challenge, if you need to take away anything from here, trust is the number one challenge. And I know that there's different opinions about McKinsey case study. I just came from an AI conference over the weekend, and they were talking about 95% of the agents that are being created are not being deployed, right? This is another credible source. This came from ServiceNow, who's deploying a lot of agent platforms in the workflow automation. But regardless of whether that's 95%, 90%, we know that a lot of agents are being created, but they're not getting deployed. And the number one reason is trust. Can that actual agent operate 100% of the time to perfection to what I want it to do? Because there is no room in commercial, right? If you're a brand, if you put it on your website, it has to perform perfectly every single time. So trust is the biggest thing. The data is very critical. How easy is your data accessible? How fragmented is the data? How do you store the data? The guardrails. What do I do when it starts to go outside the bounds, right? I don't want it to answer certain questions. We have certain agents deployed, and people ask all kinds of crazy questions, right? Like they're not asking about how to book a stay at your hotel. They'll go random and try to play with that chat agent. We're not going to cover security governance today, but those are big items as well. So what you really need, what is going to happen, and I think we've discussed that a little bit, is you're going to see a verticalization of agent platforms. So you're going to see agent platforms that do, but you need more than a point solution, right? You need a platform that'll scale. You start with a point solution. You say, I'm going to solve my customer experience problem. I'm going to solve my website guest call center automation problem, or you figure out the biggest problem that you have, but that platform needs to be able to scale. And that's really what we're working towards. And you can see that we've already put it into many, many different uses. Every single product of ours right now has AI, and if somebody's questioning the validity, I'll give you a couple of stories. Onboarding, it used to take us 2 weeks to get the information from hotel when we were onboarding them on our platform. And it was 5 hours of work for the hotel, but it took them 2-3 weeks to fill that out. We're doing this in 5 minutes, automated. All it just goes out, grabs all the information, and we're presenting it. The customer satisfaction level has gone up pretty significantly because now, instead of asking the hotel to fill it out, we're saying, here is what we found, check it, and the quality is extremely high. Right, it's pretty accurate because it's all the data. So that's a classic example. Performance data insights. Hotels have a very hard time understanding the data, analytics data that you give them. So now we started giving them AI insights, why their numbers went up, why their numbers went down, what can they do, what marketing they can switch. And that's making a big difference. We've seen a 25% increase in engagement on our analytics platform. So you can deploy, so these are all practical examples, but today I'm going to talk about the 3 use cases on how hotels can deploy. All right, I reached the end. Okay. So the number one application that we're seeing traction on is what I call the content flywheel. It's very important, right? Because previously, just in 2000, everybody's fear was, how do I get my hotel to be visible in search? Right now, the number one question, every single brand, whether it's a small hotel or it's a large brand, how do I get my content in AI engines? We saw that traffic increase in people going to AI engines first, to ChatGPT first, and getting to your website. So the number one question we're getting asked is, how do I get visible in AI search? So you start with the top, you get visibility, you figure out how you're visible, then you create content, and you have to automate the content. You cannot write content the way it was done 6 months ago even, right? And we figured out a way to automate. I'll show you automation, complete automation. It's fantastic. To publishing, whether you do it on your CMS, our CMS, and then getting it indexed on AI engines. So let's start with getting your visibility score. You use a dashboard to get what is your visibility in AI engines? It tells you what your visibility is, your competitors' visibility is. It's looking at ChatGPT. It's looking at different channels. It shows you how you're ranking for different terms and what is the visibility. It's really not ranking. It's visibility. The keyword is not ranking, but what for different prompts on different AI engines. It gives you what prompts you're ranking for, so you can actually see what are the different prompts that you're ranking for versus your competitors, the platforms you're ranking on, what is the sentiment behind those? Is it positive, is it negative? It also gives you the citations. Where is AI picking up the data from, right? AI engine, where is ChatGPT picking up? So you can actually go fix the citation. But the holy grail is right here. So this one, what it's telling me is that this is the content that you're missing. These are the pieces you're missing. And I've circled this red thing called content, create content. And this is where the whole workflow automation comes in. So not only did I find out how I'm ranking and how I'm positioning, all I need to do is click that button, and it'll take me to the content creation tool, and it'll actually populate all you don't need to do anything, it just creates the content. This is a static image for a new workflow, but in that workflow that I'm showing, basically you get from figuring out what you're missing, what you're ranking for, to be able to create full content. And that's the beauty of AI. To me, that's what gets me excited. It's almost like magic. The story that I have on the table, is on the screen, is probably the most exciting story I've seen in my career. And I'll tell you why. So we were manually doing some content SEO work for a brand across 500 hotels. The biggest challenge was it's all manual and it's all work. And we've automated that using this platform. So you have to create the template for that website, exact template, with the character count, word count, links, whatever else you want. You create that template, and you train it on their brand voice. So now it's basically their website content creating almost identical. And then you just feed in what you want, like whether you want the word, it optimized for SEO or GEO, and it produces content to perfection. It was so good, the content, it took us a while, it took us 6 months to tune the content, but at the end, the content is almost as good as the human is writing, actually. Our editorial staff is reading it. You always have to have human in content cycle, by the way. So, but the editorial staff is reading it, and they're saying this is close to perfect. So now they're able to scale to 3,000 hotels at a much lesser cost. So this is a classic case study of how you can deploy AI. So, like I said, they've deployed, increased the scale. The other case study that I'm going to talk about is AI agents. And one of my personal pet peeves is that you go to a lot of websites, they have AI chatbots, what they claim as AI chatbots, and they're horrible. The user experience is really bad. You can't get the right information. You go astray a little bit, ask the questions. So why is that the case? The reason is because a lot of those are prescriptive. You write what they do is in the back end is you're writing the question, you're training the answer. You're writing the question, you're training the answer. And as soon as the question goes haywire, you don't get the right answer. So what you have to do for that is really have true AI, and the key thing is how do you actually store your data, or what do we call semantic chunking. So take the data, be able to chunk your data, or vectorization, whatever you call it. But you take that data and store it in a form that AI agents can actually grab the information that you actually have in your data. And that is what will create the experience. You should go check this out. It's a Sun Outdoors. It's a outdoor hospitality brand, 180 resorts. They deployed it. So key considerations when deploying it, multiple data sources, call center data, their booking ARI data directly from the PMS, their full website data. So we're bringing all of it in. But the biggest thing is they're a public brand, very unforgiving. So what we did is we launched with 2% of the traffic. So for 1 month, we had just 2% of the traffic routed. Then once that confidence was built, we increased it to 10%. Right now, it's at 25%. So if you check it out and you don't see the agent, just try a few times. You will be one of 4. But now the confidence is so high, they're going to 100% of the traffic in another 2-3 weeks. But that is the right way to do it. The biggest thing is trust. So we basically took phased approach to build the trust. And this whole process took us about 10 months. And I would say 20% of the time was spent on developing the agent, 80% on testing for that trust factor. So that's why trust is very critical. The quality of answers that you get is fantastic. And then putting in the guardrails. As soon as it goes beyond a certain point, you hand off to an agent. Right? You gotta get the guardrails established. The outcome of this is that you'll see that surprisingly, we were worried about this, but the sentiment on the agents about 99% positive, neutral to positive. That's fantastic for an automated agent. So we're seeing about 5% of the traffic interact with the agent, which is pretty standard. I mean, it may be slightly lower than what we want, but we haven't really pushed it out like visibly, because we wanted to test it. So we're seeing about 4 to 6% average, about 5% of the traffic interact. The number one use case for them was trip planning, and we're finding that same thing. When we were building the agent, their biggest use case was trip planning. I'm going from Boston to Atlanta, give me resorts along the way. And that is what it's doing. But the most interesting thing is the increase in conversion rate. We've seen a 56% increase in conversion rate on the traffic that actually sees the AI agent. So that's, if anybody's looking for data point on whether it actually impacts, it does. We also have it on several properties, but one of the luxury upscale resorts, very similar data. So this data is pretty representative. It's not just a brand, but also for an individual hotel where you have a lot of activities, resorts. Seeing a 56% increase in conversion, 68% chat resolution rate. about $500,000 in savings. This is real data, and with just 10% of the traffic. Okay. I think that was my last slide, and that was my ticker to stop. So.
All right.
All right. So thank you so much, and hopefully you liked it.